welcome back. I'm Jamie Lee. I'm your instructor. So we're in week 2. We made it through week 1. Yay! Most people figured out how to do the discussion boards. People figured out how to do the journals, so that's great. Hopefully you're feeling comfortable with the class at this point and ready to get into some good content this week. So we'll be in week 2. So I just want to show you a little bit of and talk a little bit about what we're doing this week. Just so you know, I'm looking at it from the instructor view, so it may look a little bit different to you as a student, but all the same pages are still here. One thing about this table of contents, real quick, you can move it around, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, so you can find a place where you like it. When you open Blackboard, it may look something like this, so it's on the left of the module that you're looking at. You can make it smaller, and then if you click this line, it goes away almost completely, or you can move it with this arrow down to the bottom. So I like to make it really small, almost gone. So just a little tip on that. So this week we're going to be thinking about the literacy narrative, which is the first essay that we'll be working on this semester. We read the Sherman Alexie essay last week, which was one example of a literacy narrative. This week you're going to read another example of a literacy narrative, which was written by Marjorie Agosin, and it's in our textbook. You're going to answer some discussion questions about her literacy narrative, so that's what the discussion question is about this week. The discussion is about this week. You're also going to do a journal assignment, which will help you start thinking about what you want to write about for your literacy narrative. And then there's also going to be a storyboard assignment, which is going to give you a chance to start putting the pieces together that you might use to create your essay. And then there's also going to be a grammar quiz this week, so that's what we're doing overall. I'm just going to move the order of this real quick. So I suggest that you kind of do it in this order. The discussion, you'll have to do your first post by Thursday, so you probably want to start by reading the assigned reading from our textbook and then doing at least your first discussion post. You'll need to do the journal before you can do the storyboard activity. So start with the journal. You're going to get a list of details together that you can use in your literacy narrative, and then you should be able to use that list of details to complete the storyboard activity. Let's see. We have our tasks and agenda here, so I think it's always helpful to open this agenda Word document. I suggest printing it out, keeping it with you so you have something to refer to, and it lists in detail everything that you'll need to complete this week. Oh. And then here's the breakdown of points for what we're doing this week. We have your readings and resources. So there's some reading from our textbook. There's a chapter on writing a literacy narrative. There's that Agosin essay. And then there's a section on elements of a sentence, which is in the handbook section of our book. Just so you know, here's our textbook. It's broken apart into color-coded sections. In the very back is the yellow section, which is the handbook section of the textbook. So when you're looking for HB4, that's where it's going to be. I do want you to review the literacy narrative assignment. So this is the assignment for the first essay we're working on. You can go over that assignment. You'll be turning in a rough draft next week, so you don't have to turn in a rough draft this week, but I just want you to at least review the assignment and know what we're working on. The rough draft will be due next week, and then the following week you'll do a self-assessment and you'll turn in the final draft that week. I've got a PowerPoint here on how to create a storyboard, so this goes through in detail how you can create a storyboard. I think a storyboard is a helpful tool to use when you're first getting started on an essay. It's a way to kind of visually break down the different elements of your essay and think about how you're going to put them all together. The literacy narrative that we're working on, it's a more creative piece. We are still thinking of certain elements of academic writing, but you do have a lot of room in this assignment to be creative. It's you want to think about incorporating a lot of vivid details that are going to bring the story to life, so you have a little bit of room there. So this PowerPoint just kind of goes through an example of creating a storyboard. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a list of details that you could include in your literacy narrative, and you'll do that in your journal assignment, so make sure you complete the journal assignment first. Once you've completed that, you should have a list of details that you might use. What you're going to do is think about grouping these details either in different categories, so you could have them broken up into categories by scene, dialogue, character, action, memory, text, or if that makes sense to you, great, go with that. If that doesn't make sense to you or you want to do it a different way, you could also group them by paragraph. So think about what you're going to write about in your introduction, your body paragraph, 1, 2, and 3, and then your conclusion. Your essay may or may not have 5 paragraphs total when you're done with it, but it's a good place to start with kind of 5 different elements. So one way to do it is use index cards. So I want you to be able to try to do some hands-on writing in this class, even though it is an online class. I want you to have the opportunity to do writing by hand, which I think is really useful to do writing by hand. I feel like you have a more kind of direct connection with what you're creating, and the program's not getting in the way, trying to format and grammar check and spell check what you're writing. So I feel like you have a little bit more freedom. If different people have developed a writing process that works for them, so it may or may not work for you. So one of your options for this assignment is you can do it by hand on 3x5 cards. These are the 3x5 cards I used for the example in this storyboard assignment. So I just broke them into different categories. I thought of a memory or a couple memories I have related to reading and writing, and then got some details together and then broke them apart into categories. And let's see, I'll show you on the next slide. So you're going to take the 3x5 cards, put groups of details on one side of the card. So I have one category which is the first card, which would be a character, which is my grandpa, Papa. He had a big influence on me in my writing development. I did another card that was the setting, so describing what the house was like where I grew up. I grew up living with my grandparents. I spent a lot of time with them. The third card for me might be certain books that I remember, because there were a lot of books in my grandparents' house when I was growing up, so I just kind of brainstormed those different texts that I remember being around. The fourth card would be a specific memory that I had. When I moved to Chicago and I went to grad school out there, my grandpa would mail me these boxes of books, so that's a specific memory I have. And when I'm thinking about my experiences with literacy or reading and writing, that's kind of what comes to mind for me. And then I have another memory where I lost my boxes of books. I moved back to Albuquerque from Chicago. I mailed a bunch of books to myself in the mail and actually got lost in the mail. So that was really frustrating, but also kind of, to me, somehow ties in with this whole story. So if I was going to write a literacy narrative, I may include these different elements. So that's one side of the cards, just kind of a list of details. And then you kind of play around with the cards, put them in different orders, see which order you like best. Once you've got an order you like, number them. And then on the back of the cards, you're going to write sentences that include those details. So for each of these 5 cards, I've taken some of the details that I had listed on the front of the card, and then I wrote a bunch of sentences on the back of the card that include those details. And the idea here is hopefully the sentences you're writing and the material you're generating could be used in the rough draft of your essay, because that's what we're working towards, is a rough draft. So this is sort of a step to help you get started creating some content. You can do it with 3x5 cards, or you can try it with PowerPoint and just create separate slides in a PowerPoint presentation. So you'll need either, if you're going to do it with 3x5 cards, you'll need at least 5. If you're going to do it with PowerPoint, you'll need at least 5 separate slides. So you could have slide 1, and this is the same information that I had on the 3x5 cards, I just put it on a slide. So the slide 1 would be the character. I have the details on one side, the sentences that include those details on the other side. And I did the same thing for each slide. So depending on how you want to do it, those are the options you have. So you can take some time on your own to go through that PowerPoint. Let's get back to our module here. Okay. Almost there. Okay. And then the way you submit, so you'll submit the storyboard assignment here. So the journal you'll do first, and you can read that, and it's going to help you come up with some details that you could use in your literacy narrative. And then you'll take those details from the journal, create your storyboard, which is what I just showed you. And then when you're done with the storyboard, you just need to submit it to show that you did it. So if you did the 3x5 cards, what you can do is just take a couple of pictures of them in order. Take a picture of the front, take a picture of the back, put them in a in a file together, so you could open like a Word document and just paste those pictures in, or somehow get them in one file together, and then you'll submit that file here with the pictures of your storyboard as your assignment. If you decide to do it using PowerPoint, you'll just create your PowerPoint, save the file, and then submit that file here. If you think of another way to do it using another computer program, like I'm thinking you could probably even do it in Microsoft Word, just use 5 separate pages. You could do that, that would be fine. Or if you're familiar with another computer program that lets you visually arrange details and you think you can get it, you can do something similar to what I'm asking for in this assignment, then feel free, and you'll just upload that file here. Another thing, we do have on this course content section in our page rubrics. So for the assignments you're doing for this class, they have a rubric that goes along with it that just lets you know how I'll be grading the assignment. So take a look at the journal rubric, the discussion board rubric. I will be using those to grade the assignments that you're completing for the journals and the discussions. And then here's the storyboard rubric as well. So you'll have to submit at least 5 index cards or PowerPoint slides. You could also use, if you don't have index cards, just little individual slips of paper. And then each one should include some details and then some sentences that have those details in them. And then you should have at least 2 sentences for the sentences that you write. You can feel free to write more if you want. And then each slide will be worth 5 points. So 5 cards or 5 slides, 5 points each. And you can take a look at that rubric. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to cover for this week. So have a good one. Feel free to send me an email if you have questions or just want to chat. I'll also be on my office hours Monday and Wednesday from 12 to 1:15. I'll be on Blackboard IM. I'll also be checking my email during that time. So let me know. Have a good week. Bye.